There's a lot of people here that know me. Anybody here that knows me, especially from Bombshell, right? Because I bartend at a brewery out in Valley Springs. Anybody here that knows me knows that when I put my foot up on something, it's about to go down. I'm about to say some words, right? And that's what we're doing today. I'm just going to speak at you, and hopefully you guys learn a little thing, one thing or two out of it. I did put things down on paper. I have a little script for myself, because if I don't, I'm going to get off track, because I like to monologue and hear myself talk. So, first I want to really give thanks to everybody that showed up tonight. Barbara, Rich, thank you guys for having me out tonight. It's a wonderful opportunity, and thank you, NAMI, for hosting this event. This is critical to what we do, right? Everything that we do here is critical. And thanks to everybody that showed up. Whether you're a patient in recovery, or you're a friend, a family member, a caregiver, someone who loves somebody else that struggles. This is how you show your support. So please give yourselves a round of applause, because that's the first step right there. So I'm going to go by the script, because I don't want to keep you here all night. I'm sure you guys have things to do, and probably make some terrible jokes along the way. But I really appreciate you guys for joining us tonight. I am both proud and humbled to have the opportunity to stand before you and speak on a subject that is not just important to me, but impacts me and the people around me on a daily basis. For 2 years, I've dreamt of an opportunity just like this. So when Barbara approached me to be the keynote speaker, I jumped at the chance. In accordance with tonight's subject matter, a small portion of my speech will be centered around my peers, those in the audience that are in recovery. However, the bulk of what I've been asked to speak on is in regards to our friends, family, and caretakers that love and protect us on a daily basis, and how those who may not know mental illness firsthand can become the best support system for those in their life that are afflicted and struggling every day just to survive. To be clear, this will not be a comfortable conversation. This will be a candid recount of my personal experience as someone living with depression. To my friends here that are struggling, my story may open up some old wounds, and it may impact you deeply, as I know it would me if I were in the audience tonight. To our allies in the audience, in addition to giving you a peek inside the head of some of your struggles, I will also be speaking on behalf of those who are afflicted. More often than not, we carry the deep feelings of burden within us, so we need an advocate. Someone who knows firsthand and can deliver the truth behind the things that are said and done. Tonight, I am that advocate. I am so excited to help bridge the gap between those who are afflicted and those who want to help. Childhood was kind of rough. I had great parents, right? But from kindergarten to somewhere around middle school, I was bullied. This wasn't what some may consider to be an acceptable level of bullying. I was beaten, strangled, robbed of my lunch, insulted, and the worst part of it, I got blamed for it. My parents, God bless them, they did everything in their power to get this to stop. From the first time I came home asking what the word gay meant, because that's what I was referred to the time it stopped, they never quit working on my behalf to help. Unfortunately, by the time it did stop, by the time I was big enough to put an end to it myself, the damage had been done. As I developed through puberty, my traumas dictated the way that my mind grew and understood things. While there's a genetic predisposition to it, my doctor attributes the beatings I took to the development of my primary affliction, major depressive disorder, severe and recurrent, without psychosis, otherwise known as MDD. For what seems like an eternity, I've suffered in the darkness of depression. My first memory of intrusive thoughts dates back to around 9th grade. I remember feeling an intense pressure, like a weight on my chest that pulled my body down in the depths. I had no control over my emotions. I was quick to anger and snap on people. Every single problem I had in my life was because of someone or something else. I blamed everyone and took no responsibility for my own actions. It was 15 years of darkness before I ever began treatment. I remember the day my life changed. It was a Sunday. I work every Sunday. As I was working, I had this fatigue about me. Every day is filled with that fatigue, but this was different. In my head, all I could hear was my inner monologue telling me to end it. You're a burden. Everyone would be significantly better off without you. Tonight is the night. It hurt. It was exhausting. My body physically could not take the pain. And I just needed it to stop. I finished what I was doing. I closed the bar. I went home and got to work. I texted one of my closest friends the address where my body could be found and turned my phone off. I opened up my laptop and began writing my suicide letter. I emailed it to everyone addressed in the letter and said my goodbyes. I locked my door, sat down on the floor, and put my 9 to my temple. It was the first time that I ever felt relief from the everlasting fatigue. I remember asking God for forgiveness and placing my finger in the trigger guard. It was time. I resolved myself. I took a deep breath, and suddenly, Fuquay PD. My friend had contacted law enforcement to do a mental health check. I immediately broke down and began crying. I suddenly felt like the weight that I had carried around for 15 years was gone. I dropped the magazine, locked the slide to the rear, and slowly opened the door. I expected them to barge in, secure the weapon, cuff me, and treat me like a criminal with a gun. But they didn't. They sat down with me, hugged me. They told me, "We got you. Everything's going to be okay." 30 minutes later, I was at Triangle Springs receiving treatment for the first time in my life. And you know what? They were right. It was okay. It is okay. Life has gotten significantly better. Not just the way I feel, but my total quality of life. My group of friends, my job, my own sense of worth and emotional control. I won't lie to you, it's taken more work than I ever thought possible. It's more than just taking an antidepressant. It's taking emotional inventory, taking responsibility for your own actions, making amends where necessary, and working every day to better yourself. It's understanding that not every single day is going to be great. It's waking up and persevering through the darkest of those days. It's giving yourself some grace, being kind to yourself when the days are feeling dark and heavy. Every day becomes an opportunity to better yourself and become someone you can be proud of. Every facet of my life has been impacted by this disease. Before I ever sought treatment, I was flighty and about as toxic as they come. I was stunted mentally and emotionally, stuck in the ways of high school while trying to make it out in the real world. I left jobs for any reason at all. I racked up 11 W-2s in 1 year at one point. I am an expert at getting jobs, I promise you. I burned every bridge. I hurt every person that got close to me. I took my anger and my sadness and my darkness and more or less tried to bestow it on everyone around me. And it continued to get worse and worse as the years went on. See, this is what people don't realize. Depression isn't stagnant. Untreated, it is a neuroprogressive, degenerative disease. According to the National Institute of Health, over time, without treatment, your brain will begin to degrade, showing the degeneration of gray matter volume in the brain, particularly in the prefrontal cortex and the hippocampus. Your hippocampus is tasked with control over your long and short-term memory. The running joke in my friend group is, when I forget something, I respond, "Sorry, I have depression." Generally speaking, a person with advanced ADD will experience issues retaining memories, especially in the short term. To me, the most fascinating phenomenon is experiencing the ramifications of this firsthand and being incapable of doing anything about it. I cannot express the frustration of being 30 years old with a memory that is centered around my mental state. Having a low day at work while trying to remember the 2-beer order of the person in front of you becomes surprisingly difficult. It's frustrating and embarrassing, and it makes you feel useless. The people around you view it as a lack of caring or failure to pay attention. But there feels like no legitimate way to explain to them that you're not feeling well mentally. Our society in previous years has conditioned us to believe that our issues are not valid and they reside as figments of our imagination. I'm here to tell you that it's simply untrue. The pain you feel is valid and legitimate and deserves to be treated as such. Your prefrontal cortex is primarily responsible for decision-making, reasoning, and personality expression. It makes you who you are. It drives the decisions you make and the justification for those decisions. So why am I telling you this? Why am I giving you an anatomy and physiology lesson, right? One of the most important things that people need to understand is that depression isn't just a feeling, it's a disease. It is a chronic illness as real as diabetes, multiple sclerosis, and rheumatoid arthritis. It causes physiological damage to the brain in ways that can be seen on imaging and tracked just like any other degenerative disease. So how does the damage to the prefrontal cortex impact us? Suicide is a decision. People don't commit suicide from nowhere. It's a conscious decision, made to the best of our ability, in a way that has been justified as something that will overall benefit everyone around us. At this moment, we all know that the justification of suicide in one's mind is not reasonable. It should have no place in our head. And to be honest, it almost seems like a silly thought. Those who are unafflicted have the superpower of being able to see it as a ridiculous notion with no base. It can be easy for those people to wonder, to look over at who's suffering and wonder, well, why can't they just get over it? But that question is akin to asking a type 1 diabetic, well, why can't you just produce the right amount of insulin? To be clear, we are responsible for our own actions. My fellow patients and friends in recovery, we cannot and will not use these issues as an excuse to be mean to others. We must own our behaviors and stay on top of our mistakes. But taking ownership does not mean that you can't explain the situation either. We are first and foremost human beings, and humans are capable of higher learning. Your friends, family, and caregivers are here right now to learn how to better support you. So we must take ownership of that by giving them the knowledge they need to understand why things may or may not happen. If you find yourself presenting with unacceptable behavior towards others, it is imperative that you not only take ownership of those actions, but also take the time to invest in your own emotional inventory so that you may understand and overcome those feelings to the best of your own ability. Today is coming on the heels of the death of Miss USA 2019, Chesley Chris. It can be hard to fathom those who are on top of the world as celebrities feeling depression. I'm sure there's a technical term for it, but this is something I've personally coined, the Robin Williams effect. Robin Williams was beloved by all. He was known as somebody who was happy and caring, someone who valued making others laugh over anything else. Nobody thought of him as the type to commit suicide, and his death was a shock to the world. When you struggle to feel anything aside from despair, you channel your energy into helping others stay away from the darkness. Robin Williams, Anthony Bourdain, Chesley Chris, 3 people who, in their own way, dedicated their entire life to the happiness and entertainment of others. Nobody is immune to the affliction of this disease. So for these celebrities who theoretically have everything they could ever want, who spend their whole lives making others smile, to take their own life, I can only imagine the fighting within their mind they've endured for years. Friends, there's so many of you that care for someone who struggles. And it's an incredible sight to behold. There are a lot of people here that I know personally. I've got Muay Thai students, and I've got friends and family from Bombshell, and I've got my parents, and I've got my girlfriend, and all of these people that I've never met that are here to listen to me speak words at them. And it's cool. And all of these people, they are the first line of defense in the war against depression. As a depressed person, one of the issues we struggle with is an overwhelming feeling of burden. We don't want to burden the people closest to us. That is why I'm here tonight to take on that burden. The burden of information. When a person is spiraling or experiencing crisis, one of the first warning signs is isolation. We isolate. We tear ourselves away from society as far away as we can get. This also means we will struggle to correct the people around us. Most of our friends and family will use the same phrase to express care and interest in our well-being. If you need anything, reach out to me. My phone is always on. You can call me anytime. We've all heard it. Please do not misunderstand. We are always grateful for it. But as we isolate and spiral and dive towards crisis, the likelihood of us being the first to reach out diminishes. Instead, I'd like to propose an alternative. I'd like to propose proactivity instead of reactivity. The most proactive thing a loved one can do for us is to simply pay attention to detail. Pay attention to the details of our actions. Notice the little things. Notice when we start to isolate. Notice when our texts become shorter. Notice when our hair isn't brushed or we haven't showered in a long time. When you notice these things, it is the time for action. Make contact with us and let us know that you're paying attention. Instead of you can reach out at any time, make it something more insistent, like, I've noticed you've been isolating lately. Why? My mother was the first to do this to me. She didn't just let me sit there and stew and wait on me to come to her. She'd pull me to the side and say, you're isolated. Why? Are you depressed? And I'd always make a joke, well, yeah, I'm always depressed. It's the truth, right? And at that moment, I have to take emotional inventory. Most of the time, we don't even know that we're isolated. It creeps up on us like a stranger in the night. The isolation comes on slowly and deliberately, so much so that we don't notice it until it's too late. By asking us a simple question, why? You force us into a state of evaluation. This is the time in which we start evaluating ourselves and taking that emotional inventory. Am I isolated? Or are my meds working? When was the last time I bathed? Or am I just busy? This is the moment where we not only determine where we are mentally, but we also begin to learn what it feels like when we're beginning to spiral. Emotional inventory taking is a practice skill, and it will take time to master. And your proactivity is what sets us on the path to improvement. The truth is, the longer we embark on this path, the more mistakes we're going to make. But that doesn't mean we give up. We cannot give up on ourselves. This is where we rely on our support system, trusting that they will not give up on us, even after we have given up on ourselves. I was speaking to you guys for like 15 minutes. Why? What was the point? Right? I needed to offer the perspective of someone that sits on both sides of the aisle. I am both a patient and a caretaker. And being on both sides of understanding, I am in a unique position to try and bridge the gap between those who suffer and those who love those who suffer, illuminating the pathway to understanding. Caring for us, caring for those who hurt on a daily basis, it's not an easy task, especially if you cannot fathom the pain for yourself. So for everyone here, genuinely, thank you for coming out and showing support. You're here to learn and grow and become the pillar of strength in the lives of those who need more love and care. And I cannot personally express enough gratitude to you. I want to close with a few lines from one of my favorite songs, dedicated to those who struggle with depression and suicidal ideation. Only after enduring the test of fire, iron is forged. Live, brave one. Fight those eternal storms and win, brave one. Weather those wounds and rise once again. Fly once again. For too long you've laid in darkness. Thank you for coming out, everybody. I think I speak on behalf of everyone here when I say thank you again to the NAMI for putting on such a wonderful event. I'm going to turn everything back over to Rich and Barbara, and please stick around and stay for some live music and stay strong, my friends.